connected to being Penelope. And again, this image is, it's a mattress painting, and Penelope, you know, when she weaves and she, through the day and in the night, she kind of, you know, she opens what she made. That whole thing about, I think, apart from Penelope and apart from baiting, it has a lot to do with what we do. You know, we set up narratives, and we make stories, and then we withdraw and we go elsewhere. And this painting is called Path of Berries. Also the beauty of making art, and it's about secrets, sharing secrets, and as well as, you know, constant, the possibility of fantasy. This is another work altogether. It's one of the, I think, yeah, last year. And it's called Color Chart, Excerpts from a Skinner Log, and where I would say that the idea of the narrative, where I play with speaking about what is most close to me, about the artist's life, then the whole idea of entrapment, and then this becomes a kind of, I would say, the real autobiographic takeoff, and just speak about, it works in pairs. So there's the photographic self, and on the right side you see the painted image, and both working with each other, and it's about stain and about self, and also at kind of looking and re-examining one's past. And the strange thing was that I found at the end of making this work, I found that what I call the imagined self as a stronger presence, a kind of more real, I would say it was more about the real me than these works, which are more factual. So that's also something we must always consider. You know, the whole idea of sharing and narrative is, you know, this is cool and this is calm, and maybe it's untrue. I seem to almost thrive with the idea of working from a state of perpetual crisis. I think it feeds the work, and while I enjoyed making these, I can sense that it won't be forever. And there are always these little, I would say, the private kind of signs, or like here the picture is too small, but this book I'm holding is it has a picture of Raja Deen Dayal, who had leukoderma. So it's again a kind of private reference to my own skin and connecting with the world. Okay, that's it. And just to tell you that this phrase, thriving in a state of perpetual crisis, comes from the Samsung company. They're doing it now. I love it.
Thank you, Anju. In fact, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how you have been confronting the self that is elusive and yet non-known, and you use biographical, autobiographical, and fictional self, actually, to understand that. But it's also about articulating drifting tensions, and I see a lot of work is about the asymmetries of the mind and the body in the working of the everyday. We quickly go to Anita, and then go into a discussion. Yeah, okay. Straight up.
Am I audible? Yeah. The proceedings have been very solemn, all up till now, so let's try to make it a little lighter. I'm going to start to show you just a fragment of work from around 2005 onwards. And this will lead to the next body of work that I will show you, which is a lot to do with text. But I'm following up from what Atul said and what Jitish said, and what I want to clarify is that for me, although I studied art history, I love text, I read poetry, I read novels, but for me, text as a material to make work, as a sculptural material, did not exist in my mind until 2005. And it's interesting that, so text was there and I was here. And how does this thing come together? How does text come so close to me that I begin to make work out of text? So similarly in 1997, like when I made Blood Wedding, it's like I hadn't reached to the point where I thought, okay, I can work with bones and I can make these things. No, it was out of a certain kind of a situation where the bones in a sack arrived. I took them into my studio and I started to look at them. And that's the point from which actually the found object or the skeleton or even in that sense velvet became a central thing inside my work. So as I said, things are there and I'm here, and only when they come close to me, then they can become material for work. So, so this is the point from which text becomes a very important part of my art making. Until then I was reading text, but I have no connection with it as an artist. I can't access it. So I made this performance. It was called Keywords. I cut out of slabs of beef in a live situation in Khoj, 4 words. And then there was a canvas at the back, and we were also discussing with the audience what these words meant to the audience, which had an 18-year-old, a 35-year-old, a 50-year-old person. And the whole idea was to actually try to excavate the fact that a word does not have a single meaning, and that actually as people experience it according to their time, that the word has a different resonance and a different meaning entirely. And I was trying to arrive at an encrustation of meanings about a single word. So the 4 words I cut at that point were permanent revolution, sexual love, avant-garde, and about ethics. So 4 words. Keywords, I thought these were the key words that I wanted the audience to start to think about, and I myself proposed it to them, and we wanted to interrogate them together. So anyway, the next work. So the engagement with words start, and I made many works. I'm just showing you a brief glimpse of them. I was in Pittsburgh in the US, and I made 5 works which are all based on words. The first one, and all of them had started with the letter W. I unfortunately have only this image here, but I can talk about the others. This is cast in wax with the wicks going all the way down, and actually we can actually burn the whole work over a long period of time. It can, from form, it can become formless. And it's also about my experience of how I have seen my aunts, my grandmothers, all women I have known, how there's this kind of a slow burn that one gets a sense of. So the work is of course quite minimal. It's got clean edges, but it burns in this kind of fashion. There are other words that I made at the same time. The other words were waste, war, wound, and wisdom. So the 4 other words were the other words. I don't have images, unfortunately, but we'll go on to see the other work that I'm doing with words now. I casted many of these words in wax. They were very large. I also casted 2 words, love and void, love in white wax and void in black wax, and they were about 1.5 meters high, like architectural structures, similar to the way woman is, but this is about 2 feet high, but you can imagine words which are about 1.5 meters high, similarly casted. but it was so difficult to, they weighed about tons, and it's so difficult to kind of even keep words like this, work like this, in storage spaces which don't have air conditioning and things like that. So I actually then decided that why should I really work with such cumbersome kind of procedures, and then I turned to smaller candles which are available in the market, but then you don't get black candles, so I ordered candles in black wax, and I started to fix these candles on top of photographs and actually burning the word. So the word burns in the woman, but then it starts to burn like this, and then the wax spills and actually covers the photograph. And when we think that, of course I decide that the wax is spilled, I put off the candles, and then the work becomes ready for viewers to see. Exactly the work that you see in the gallery upstairs, my work, is created through this kind of a procedure. We fix the candles on the photograph along with screws and other things, and we tie them up, and then we burn the whole word. And then when the burning is over and when the wax spills, we stop the burning and the work is ready. So in that sense, the word performs, or the work also performs. So in that sense, from the fact that I cut words out of meat, some kind of performative element also comes into the work. The words are performing, they are burning. I find it fascinating, just the idea that the fact that the word can burn, or the word can, become form to formless, and things like that. So, okay. We go on to another work. In this work also the word that I'm writing is "ah" in Hindi. And I've said it so many times I don't want to repeat it, but I use this word because "ah" in English is for me always a sign, an exclamation of excitement, while in Hindi "ah" is a kind of a sigh of despair of some kind. And I thought it's fine, it's just the best way to talk about difference, just by using just a word which is phonetically the same but can have two entirely different meanings. This is also writing the same word "ah" but with another material, and this material is a set of roots that I found on the roadside when I was driving to Gurgaon, and I guess this is many years ago, but 10, 12 years ago, when a lot of construction activity was going on, and all these roots were being, buildings were happening, and trees were being uprooted, and some very smart guy had kind of cut off the roots and kind of almost made them look like driftwood kind of things, polished them very nicely, and so there were quite a few that he had, and I picked them up and I brought them into my studio. And started to make something. For a long time I didn't know what to do, but then I understood that, okay, it's the words that I want to write with them. And so exactly that part of the root that goes inside the soil is the thing that is now coming out of the wall towards us. So it's about 30 inches, and I will show you, and you can see how it kind of looks from the side. So it's like a jungle. The word that we are writing is "ah." And this is how it is. Of course, I didn't have that many roots, and I from 5 prototypes I casted them in fiberglass so that I could make work with it. Another work with the roots, writing a word, and this time the word that I write on this image is "kal." Kal as a sense of time and as a sense of the image is from the disaster in Hiroshima when this building was burnt down. I had it in my cuttings archive of images that I keep, but when the Fukushima disaster happened, I thought how strange that the nation which actually suffered from nuclear bombing actually went in to adopt nuclear energy, and now they are suffering the second time around. So the image is from Hiroshima, but it's in this time that I made it, and it writes the word "kal" with the roots. And you can see how it's almost like the things that they are burnt, and there's like a scream that comes out from the image. Then some very small works. These are made with steel wires covered with black velvet, and then they are bent to write words, and then kal, kal, kala, kala. The two basic words ka and la